Welcome to State of the Offense, your unbiased coverage of your favorite team's offense, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. At this point of the year where there are so many unknowns, I believe that Bucs fans should be concerned with the offense going into the season. Last year, Tampa Bay finished 14th in total offense, 2nd in passing, 32nd in rushing, and 25th in scoring, which earned them an 8-9 record. They won the NFC South and lost to Dallas in the first round of the playoffs. In the skill positions, the Bucs bring back Kyle Trask, Rachaad White, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, and Cade Otton as their top returnees. In free agency, they added Baker Mayfield and Chase Edmonds to compete at the quarterback and running back positions. Most fantasy football shows will only mention the skill players, but State of the Offense, we look at the entire offensive unit. We start in the trenches by analyzing the condition of the offensive line. It all starts at the snap of the football. On the offensive line, the Bucs will only have one player from 2022 who is projected to start at the same position, and that is left tackle Kristen Wirfs. So it may take a little while before the group gels properly. The offensive line suffered through injuries along most of the line last season. Tristan Wirfs is one of the most talented left tackles in the game. He played in 13 games last season and he graded at a 93, which made him the second highest rated left tackle in football. Wirfs is only 24 and under contract through 2024. Matt Filer was signed away from the Chargers and he is the projected left guard on the depth chart. Filer graded at a 74 and he played all 17 games with a 100% snap share. Filer was in the 14 to 16 range of left guards in the game last season. Filer is under contract for only 2023. Nick Leverett is listed as his backup. Leverett joined the lineup in Week 7 and started until the end of the year. Leverett is entering his third season in Tampa and he graded at a 67 and had a 61% snap share. Center Ryan Jensen made the Pro Bowl in 2021. But he had a knee injury in camp where he missed the season. In 2021, he rated at a 93, which would project him as the best center in the NFL. Jensen is under contract through 2024. The projected starting right guard is second-round draft pick Cody Mauch, whom the Bucs took with the 48th pick from North Dakota State. I project Mauch to rate around a 73, which would place him in the 23 to 24 range of starting right guards as a rookie. Nick Leverett may be given a chance at the position if Mauch has some rookie struggles. Luke Goedeke is the projected right tackle starter. Goedeke was the 57th pick in the 2022 draft. He played in 11 games last season and graded at a 67, which is a backup level grade, and he had a 40.3% snap share. The offensive line was in flux from training camp due to injuries. The return of Ryan Jensen gives the Bucs two elite players at premium positions on the line at left tackle and center. Filer is an experienced player who played the whole season last year, which helps. The right side has two second-round picks from the last two drafts. If the right side solidifies, the offensive line can become a strength of the team. They will be critical to the Bucs improving from their 32nd ranked running game in the league last year. I must now pay homage to 7-time Super Bowl winning quarterback and 9-time Super Bowl starting quarterback Tom Brady for his contributions to the game of football. Brady is impossible to replace, which New England fans have been learning for 3 seasons now. The Bucs invested a 2021 second-round draft pick in former Florida Gator Kyle Trask to learn the Bruce Arians system under Byron Leftwich and behind Brady and Gabbert for 2 years. Season 3 into the Kyle Trask process, he will have to learn a new system under new offensive coordinator Dave Canales, who came from Seattle, and he will have to beat Baker Mayfield in order to start. Coach Todd Bowles knows Kyle Trask as a person, and he has coached against Baker Mayfield, so it will be interesting to see which direction the franchise goes. The Bucs signed Baker Mayfield, who was with both Carolina and the Rams last season, to a 1-year, $4 million deal. Combined between the Panthers and Rams, Baker played 12 games, completed 60% of his passes. He had 6.5 yards per attempt and a 10-to-8 touchdown to interception ratio. And he had an ESPN QBR rating of 24.5. Baker did improve his play in LA somewhat to deserve a chance to get a look, so Tampa is giving him a look. Mayfield has done enough in the league to make some still believe in him, but he basically hasn't produced since 2020. In 2021, a shoulder injury may have sidetracked his progress, but he won the starting job over Sam Darnold in Carolina. And then when the lights were on, he got benched, then he got cut because he didn't want to be a backup to Darnold. He played very well against the Raiders and Broncos in 2 home games with the Rams. He had 1 good game with Carolina, and that was a road game against Cincinnati. Most of Baker's supporters gush about his leadership ability and his smarts. Most of his critics believe that he's too inconsistent to win regularly. The common thread is that Baker Mayfield played well in 2 games last year where his team won out of 12. If Kyle Trask cannot win the job against Baker Mayfield this preseason, he will probably never be an NFL starting caliber quarterback. Baker is on his last leg as a starting quarterback in the NFL. It is understandable if you sit behind Tom Brady and Blaine Gabbert, but if you can't beat out Baker Mayfield on a rebuilding roster, you simply can't play. ESPN.com currently lists Baker Mayfield as the number 1 quarterback on the depth chart. In fantasy football, neither of these guys is getting drafted. If the eventual starter has a good game in week 1, you may want to take a shot on that guy, but until we know who the guy is, stay away. I believe that both will start games this season. I think that Bowles will pick Trask for the opener only if he is obviously better than Baker. Otherwise, if it is close, I think he chooses Mayfield first. Then, when Baker fails, they will bring Trask in to finish the season. The wide receiver situation in Tampa is pretty familiar. Longtime Buccaneers Mike Evans and Chris Godwin return as one of the most solid duos in football. Both of these guys have been productive and consistent for a very long time. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are entering very unfamiliar territory. This is the first time since Evans was a rookie in 2014 that they have had other than Jameis Winston or Tom Brady as their quarterback. By the way, Josh McCown was the 2014 opening day starter for Tampa when Mike Evans was a rookie. The uncertainty of the quarterback position probably represents a career low in the fantasy value of both of these players. If they have good chemistry from knowing Kyle Trask and practicing with him for 2 years, maybe these guys have good years again. If Mayfield is the quarterback, though, I think it could get pretty dicey for them. DJ Moore is a good NFL wide receiver, and Baker only supported him for 2 good games in Carolina last year. He didn't get a chance to play with Cooper Kupp in Los Angeles. Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry didn't love having Baker in Cleveland, so I'm fading Evans and Godwin until I know Kyle Trask is starting games. In the number 1 passing offense in the NFL last year, Mike Evans ranked 15 in fantasy points scored, and he averaged at the 13th best clip. Chris Godwin was 18th in fantasy points and 17th in average points per game. On ESPN.com, Mike Evans is the wide receiver 25, player 65 overall, which has him going in the 6th round. Chris Godwin is valued a little higher. He's wide receiver 19, player number 54 overall, which is a 5th round pick. While I believe both players are extremely talented, there's no way that I'm drafting these guys in these rounds. They are in a tier of wide receivers that I'm not crazy about overall, where at this point of the draft, I would probably go to positions other than wide receiver in the 5th and 6th rounds. Russell Gage is back in Tampa as the wide receiver 3. With Tom Brady, yes. With these quarterbacks, no. The Bucs will bring back 2nd-year player Cade Otton at the tight end position. Last year, he was the 27th tight end in total points and 40th in average points per game for tight ends. He's not getting drafted in fantasy, but he might be an okay bye-week starter to fill in for your main tight end. Rachaad White is back for his 2nd year with the Bucs at running back. Injuries to the offensive line caused the Bucs to have the 32nd ranked rushing attack last year. They only averaged 3.4 yards per carry as a team. No running back in Tampa averaged more than 3.7 yards per carry. Luckily for Bucs fans, Rachaad White was the player with the 3.7. Rachaad White was the running back 37 in total points per reception leagues, and he was running back 51 in average points per game as Leonard Fournette's backup. On ESPN, White is getting drafted as the 24th running back, the 70th player overall, as a 6th round pick. Backup running back Chase Edmonds has talent. He split time between Miami and Denver last year. Edmonds had 2 good years in 2020 and 2021 in Arizona, but last year he averaged only 6 touches a game, and he was outplayed by both Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson in Miami. He essentially played behind 2 guys who were cut by other teams in Denver, with Latavius Murray and Melvin Gordon. Maybe he can be the pass receiving back in Tampa behind Rachaad White, but Rachaad White is very good receiving back himself. I believe that Rachaad White is the surest thing in fantasy football for the Buccaneers this season. His competition isn't that stiff. Edmonds is going undrafted, but if the Bucs throw the ball to the running backs like they did last year, both guys may have a path for some fantasy points in points per reception formats. I would take White in the part of the draft where he is getting drafted in the 6th round, and I think he will be a good fantasy running back too for your roster. This year I only value 3 players on the Bucs roster for fantasy football purposes. The only one that I would draft at the current cost is Rachaad White. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin may bust this year if the quarterbacks underperform, or if Dave Canales is a downgrade from Byron Leftwich as the offensive coordinator. Part of the reason I like Rachaad White is that I believe that the offensive line will be significantly better this season than what they were last season. The overall consensus in the football community is that the Bucs are rebuilding. On offense, absolutely. If Kyle Trask is legit, the Bucs can repeat as NFC South champions. If he isn't, it will be a rough year. I don't believe in Baker Mayfield too much, so if he's the Bucs' main starter, I think that you guys will be in a similar position to what the 2021 Cleveland Browns were. They finished 8-9. They had a strong defense, a good running back, 2 experienced, proven wide receivers with Baker Mayfield at quarterback. I personally believe that both the Panthers and the Saints will likely be above 8 wins this year, so 3rd place for the Pirates for the Gulf is what I see for the Buccaneers. If you like today's coverage of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.